Welcome to the Licensed to Live show, where professionals, doctors, champions, VIPs, attorneys, and those in public office discover strategies that help you restart and gain what is lost when you find yourself accused. If another has doubted your integrity, questioned your credentials, or caused your actions to come under scrutiny, you are in the right place. On the other hand, if you have never felt the knot in the pit of your stomach when legal papers are served, the heartbreak of disappointing your family when the lock clicks shut on handcuffs, or had to appear before a board of review, then be aware, the longer you serve, the more likely you are to find yourself under the microscope of those who judge. Prepare yourself for this uncomfortable possibility. Now, here's your host, Dr. Jarrett Patton.
Welcome to episode 201 of License to Live. My name is Dr. Jarrett Patton, and I'm your host for our journey together today and every day you choose to listen to this show. If you or anyone you know has been dissed in their career, disenfranchised, dissatisfied, disengaged, please invite them to join us along this journey. Just go to your favorite podcast player and hit subscribe to the License to Live show. And while you're there, please rate this episode and give me honest feedback so I make sure that I provide you with the most up-to-date information about career challenges and life changes. And today, in episode 201, we will be talking about tariffs and how these tariffs that are being applied on products entering and leaving the United States can affect jobs not only in manufacturing industries, but even in healthcare. So I want to protect you and help you keep your healthcare job and avoid some of the pitfalls that are related to these tariffs. But first, I really have to give a word of thanks to all of you fire starters who are out here who have been dedicated to listening to this show. We have been producing this show for nearly 7 years, and it has yielded 200 episodes, which, have just been amazing to me. When I first started cutting my teeth as a podcast host, I didn't really even understand fully what a podcast was, but I learned about podcasting and say, okay, well, this isn't much different than radio, so we can have some fun on this show. And because of all of you fire starters and your continuing listening, I've been continuing to produce these shows and we've done lots of solo episodes, but I've really enjoyed phenomenal interviews because I've talked to lots of authors, people who are launching their books for the first time. I've talked to a couple of movie directors who were launching various movies at the time. We can't forget about other people like Super Bowl champion Mike Logan, mixed martial arts gold medalist Janae Noonan. And boy, we've had scores of doctors interviewed on this show who are doing just amazing, wonderful things, even culminating with episode 200, in which we interviewed Surgeon General Dr. Jocelyn Elders. So go back and listen to that interview if you happen to miss it. But I've just had so much fun, and I owe all of you fire starters out there all the thanks in the world for making this show a success. And please, when I say tell a friend about the show, I mean tell a friend about the show. Help him sign up for the show. Help them get to listen to an episode, because I'm just trying to provide the information to help you stay on track with your career. And if at any time you want to reach me directly, I'm found on social media at Dr. Jarrett. Spell out the word Dr. J-A, 2 R's, E, 1 T. And if you want to make an appointment with me and straighten out some things in your own life, go to timewithdrjarrett.com. We will be back to discuss tariffs and what they mean in your job, especially in healthcare. right after we finish thanking our sponsors.
The time is now to refresh your career. We help doctors, lawyers, executives, and VIPs refresh and restart. Dr. Jarrett's coaching helps you build confidence, gain more credibility, develop more leadership skills, and gain clarity in your career path. Want to climb the executive ladder or branch out on your own? We'll put your career in overdrive. Visit drjarrett.com and sign up for your free strategy session.
Something smells good. EH3 coffee. EH3 coffee. Premium organic. Nothing better than waking up. EH3 in your cup. Premium organic. EH3 coffee. Nothing better than in the middle of your day. EH3 coffee. Premium organic. EH3 coffee.
Hey guys, this is Janae Noonan, and I'm here with Dr. Jarrett on License to Live. Hit the subscribe, follow the journey. Let's go.
Welcome back to episode 201 of License to Live. And let me tell you, the world of politics, the world of our economy, lots of things are changing very rapidly. And one thing you've no doubt heard about is this concept of tariffs that's being applied to products, which is basically a tax that's being applied to products that leave the U.S. to go to another country. And basically that receiving country is expected to pay for that tax. And essentially, whoever pays the tax, whatever business is paying the tax, usually will pass the cost on to the consumers. And so this is what you're hearing about when you're hearing about trade wars. The U.S. sets their tariff tax at such and such percent. Then the reciprocating country just says, well, we'll raise our tariffs as well. And it just becomes a battle of higher and higher prices. And that's fine if you say, okay, I'm going to buy all American goods or all products made in the U.S. so they don't have to come on a boat or a plane and come across an ocean to get here. And that is great. However, manufacturing in the U.S. is certainly not on its all-time high right now. It is actually pretty much the same as it always has been. And as a result, we still get lots of products from other places. And that just kind of makes it very difficult. So let me tell you the connection between tariffs and healthcare jobs specifically, since there's so many doctors that listen to this show. I don't want you to think just because you're not producing computers or cars or air compressors, it doesn't affect you. But in healthcare, it will affect you. So how exactly do tariffs impact healthcare jobs? Well, it starts out with the materials, the products, the equipment that our healthcare system relies on. Think about all the computers. Think about IV fluids. Think about medications. Think about medical devices, even and especially PPE, personal protective equipment. A lot of what is used in hospitals and healthcare settings actually come from other countries because it's just cheaper to produce the things and cheaper to acquire. So here's where it gets interesting. When tariffs are imposed on these imported goods, the prices go up. We talked about that. So for device manufacturers, even if some of the assembly happens here in the U.S., if they're getting parts and components from other countries, those parts are going to have an essential tax placed on them. And you may have heard for automakers, for instance, who are facing somewhere around a 25% tariff, it's not just where the vehicle is assembled, but where do the parts come from? And a lot of parts come from outside the borders, or may even have to cross borders a couple times, which increases the expenses. So just because you are working in a company that is fully inside the U.S., it doesn't mean that tariffs aren't going to affect. And so as a result of this, hospitals, healthcare facilities, clinics are going to have to make tough decisions because their budget will increase by a certain percentage that people who were making the budget the year before weren't even thinking about. So he's thinking about people making the budget. And some of you guys may be making your next year's budget right now. And you're saying, well, okay, we can at least account for these tariffs in the budget and this increased expense. But for many companies, healthcare and beyond, this increased expense is just coming out of nowhere. It wasn't something anticipated from the prior year. And so you are left with trying to resolve the budget indifference. Now, here is where the tariffs will really, really, really hit you, because I've talked about it before. I've said it before. You've heard economists say it before. Labor tends to be one of the largest costs in any U.S. company's budget, in any budget, labor costs. So what does that mean? Well, what that means is if there is a problem with the budget, tariffs are increasing supply costs. The money has to come from somewhere. And what typically happens? Job loss, job loss, job loss. I'm saying it again. You will lose your job because a company is forced to make cuts. The money simply isn't there. And what typically happens? Well, the first thing that gets cut are jobs that are being recruited for. There becomes a hiring freeze. Nobody can hire new workers. What does this mean for your current job? It means that you may be working short staff for a period of time. And working short staff may mean longer hours, more stress, higher dissatisfaction. Yes, in other words, you are being dissed, and it will make you go listen to the License to Live podcast and get some strategies to move on from this situation. So those open vacancies are suddenly gone. So now you don't get the help that you need. And then in that next round, they may have to start cutting non-essential personnel. So a lot of times this could be support staff. It's not necessarily the big ticketed people on there like executives, although middle management tends to be at risk. It tends not to be high cost frontline workers like doctors and nurse practitioners and nurses because they need them in the healthcare machine to continue to churn out patients. However, there are times when active healthcare jobs get cut. And this is why you need to be prepared for this possibility. And what is to make a difference between you getting cut and someone else getting cut? Well, it's the value. It's the value you bring to the institution. And sometimes you bring in incredible value. Sometimes your value is just standard in line with everyone else. And what I want you to understand is that in these types of situations, you must find ways to increase your value so you don't find yourself on the chopping block. I will come back and tell you exactly what you need to do to try to protect your job in this time of tariffs and economic uncertainty right after we finish thanking our sponsor. Hey, this is Dr. Jarrett Patton. Do you need more positivity in your life? No matter what part of your life you want to transform, positive affirmations can help you achieve your goals. But sometimes making permanent changes can be difficult. Designed with you in mind, License to Live. Daily affirmations to rebuild your life will inspire and equip you to become the best version of yourself. License to Live. Daily affirmations to rebuild your life will set you on the path to changing your mindset, beliefs, speech, and ultimately your actions. You can change your life now by getting your copy at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, your finer book retails, or licensed2live.com. That's licensed2live.com. Here we are back in License to Live, and you're sitting here hanging on thinking, am I going to lose my job? Well, the answer is possibly. So the first thing you need to do is stay informed. You need to keep up with not only economic and trade policies as they relate to the U.S. and the world global economy, but you need to stay informed with your local economy. You need to be very particular to what administrators are talking about in your job, talking about, are you hearing messages like, oh, times are tough, or it's time for us to get more lean. You're hearing about, the end results, job cuts, supply chain disruptions. Are you hearing these types of things in your workplace? Keep your ears open for some of those next things that will happen, like job cuts, hiring freezes, job losses. In this moment, it's incredibly important for you to stay on top of your company's local finances. And if that means attending annual meetings or being a guest in a board meeting so you can keep this on top, make sure you're going to those medical staff meetings. Make sure you're going to those physician group meetings, because that's where you're going to hear this stuff. And they don't always want you to hear it so that you can be prepared. So first and foremost, stay informed. The second thing to do is just set yourself up to make yourself a little bit different. So this could be your way of embracing technological advances, looking at ways to make your job a little bit easier, use automation, use artificial intelligence. They're already playing a big role in healthcare. Upskill your life and start playing with some of these tools that are out there, because you'll be surprised what they can do to help make some of your job more efficient. Which brings me to the third point. Focus on efficiency that you have. You actually could say, hey, I found a way that we can save X amount of money by simply changing to do this. And by doing that, you may save some jobs. You may get the help you need. You certainly will raise the eyes of some of the administrators that are saying, why didn't I think about that? And that means you will be in better terms when it comes down to that spreadsheet that says 5 jobs from this department must be eliminated. And then finally, you can always advocate for change. And if you can't do it locally at a medical staff meeting or a physician group meeting or in your general staff meeting, employee meetings, also look at ways to change what's going on. And if you don't really like the way this tariff thing is starting off, you don't really like how prices are going to rise, you may want to entertain yourself by showing up at one of your local representative town halls, because from some of the clips I'm seeing out there on media, they look like they're quite interesting, with people upset about all types of things. However, you being involved in some of this political process can spread the view. People love to hear from healthcare workers. They love to hear from doctors. And they want to know what doctors think. And a lot of times people are just making assumptions because a lot of people aren't advocating for the type of change that they need. So remember, things aren't going to change if people aren't speaking up. And this new economy that we are being faced with, the new reality of tariffs being put into place, all come back to your own job, whether you're in the financial industry, whether you're in the healthcare industry. These things are coming, and I want you to be prepared so we can have another 100, 200 more episodes of License to Live. Remember, fire starters, if you or anyone you know has been disengaged, dissatisfied, disgruntled, disenfranchised, maybe even fired from your job in healthcare due to these economic struggles, please invite them to join us along this journey. Simply go to your favorite podcast player and hit subscribe to License to Live. And if you are looking to find me in between episodes, make sure you check me out on social media. Go to Dr. Jarrett, spell out the word doctor, J-A-2-R-E-1-T, and we will see you next time.
No matter how disheartening the moment of accusation sounds, how deep the pain of immobilization stabs, or how bleak your future looks, no one can take away your license to live. Keep Dr. Jarrett's expertise handy and unlock your future. Go to Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or another podcast player and subscribe right now to Licensed to Live. See you next time.